All right, hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to look at another example for the BN bookstore. So please give the question a read, pause the video, read the question if you haven't done so already. And when you're ready, let's begin. All right, as always, let's create a header file across the top. You can apply some cell style formatting to it. Once we have our header cell made, we're going to read the question, take off the given information, and put it into our Excel spreadsheet model. Ready? Here we go. B&M Bookstore, with many locations across the U.S., places orders for all the latest books and then distributes them to its individual bookstores. B&M needs a model to help it order the appropriate number of any title. So right away, we're looking for the number of books to order. For example, B&M plans to order a popular new hardback model, which it will sell for $30. They can purchase any number of this book from the publisher, but due to quantity discounts, the unit cost for all books ordered depends on the numbers ordered. Specifically, if it's less than 1,000, the cost is $24, etc., etc., etc. So these couple sentences here is telling you, buy in bulk, you get a discount. And maybe you've seen this before. So let's take the $30, and this is going to be our regular price of the book, and this is our $30. So we'll put that on model. And then we have this order. We need to know how many to order. Some way, somehow we have an order. I'll play around with this number. This number is a little bit of the unknown. We'll color that green. Then we have this table for costs for ordering. Put that over here on the right. If the number ordered is less than 1,000, the unit cost is 24. Keep track of how many are ordered. And then the cost, the unit cost. Pay attention here, this is important. Even though it says less than 1,000, the cost is 24. If I buy 1,000, the cost is not $24. I have to buy less than 1,000. So what you do is you start the table off at 0. That's going to be your $24. When you get to 1,000, you got to read this very carefully. After each 1,000, the unit cost drops 23 for at least 1,000 copies. If you order 1,001 copies, it's $23. Then if you order 2,000 copies, the cost drops again to $22.25. And if you order 3,000, cost is $21.75. And last but not least, the lowest possible unit cost, $21.30, or at least 4,000. So this is important. I'm going to put it up here just to clarify this. It's at least this many ordered. Notice the table has to start at 0 to get the unit cost of 24. A mistake people make here is that they start the table at 1,000, but remember, you can order less than 1,000, and that cost would be $24. So this table here, the reason why this question is a little bit wordier than the other ones is because we have this table. It would be nice if they handed us a table like this, but of course they don't. Our job to create the table. Format the table so everything looks nice. Keep it off here on the side, and we're ready to move on. B&N is very uncertain about the demand for this book, and it estimates that the demand could be anywhere from 500 to 450. So I need a cell here for demand, and this is also sort of an unknown variable, but they give us a range. So they're saying 500 to 4,500. When we have these numbers, we could throw in some dummy numbers. I like to put in numbers just to make sure the spreadsheet is working as I build off of this number. So I'll make up a number here. I'll put in 3,000. For the order, say I order more, let's say 3,500. And this just helps me put numbers in. I call these dummy numbers just to make sure the spreadsheet is still working. Okay, also, as with most hardback novels, this one will eventually come out as a paperback, and therefore, if it has any hardbacks left when the paperback comes out, it will put it on sale for $10. So I have my regular price, and I have my sale price, which is $10. Now I think I've gone through and used all the givens, at which price all the leftovers will be sold. So anything left over will be sold. So now I need to know how many are coming in as leftovers, or what is my surplus. Now this should feel familiar, where we had a difference between order and demand. So in this particular case, just think about this for 1 second. I order 3,500. My demand is 3,000. So how many do I have left over? Say, well, the answer is going to be to subtract. And let's watch why this could work, or it's going to cause some problems. This is fine. It's perfectly fine. You're right. If you order 3,500 and the demand is 3,000, there are 500 left. What if I ordered 3,000, but my demand was 3,500? Now I should have no surplus left over, but this formula, just having the difference here, is telling me that I have negative 500 left over for the surplus. That's a problem. You don't want a negative number left over for your surplus. Yes, we're short 500 books, but that doesn't mean I have negative 500 books in the warehouse. Somehow, some way I need to not have a negative. Now there's a couple ways to do this. We saw this before, that one way to do this was to use the max statement, and we can use the max of the two numbers of the difference or 0. This is being a little clever. This says if the number is negative, replace it with 0. And when you do that, you can see it works. Now, if I order 3,000 and I have a demand for 3,500, yes, 500 clients are not getting their books, but I have no surplus left over, and this is working. On the other side, if I switch the numbers back, so I order more than demand, now there is 500. So we saw this before with Max in another example. Let me show you another way to do this. So like way number 2 with surplus, and we'll just pick one of them to move forward. But let's use a new function. This could be a new function for you if you haven't seen this before. The if function, nice function that will test for something to see if it's happening, and then you tell it what to do if it's true, or you tell it what to do if it's false. So for here, I want to test, is my demand bigger than my order? And if that's true, I'm going to put 0. And if it's not true, then I can take the difference. Expand out the column so we can actually see the formulas. So this should be working for both of them. So read this one more time. Think about what this is doing. It's checking first if the answer is going to be negative. This says if B9 is greater than B10. So if the demand is bigger than the order, then put 0. Then put 0. So let's see that in action here. So let's say my order is 3,500, but my demand is 4,000. Checking, is this bigger? Is my demand bigger? If so, then use the surplus to be 0. So this is the if statement. It does the exact same thing as the max statement. Pick the one that you are most comfortable with. However you do it, though, we need to keep track of the surplus because that's what I'm going to multiply by. That's what I'm going to sell per the assumptions in the story here. I sell all those at the sale price. All right, so now the question is, how many copies of this hardback novel should be in an order from the publisher? We're trying to maximize profit here, so let's go through and look at our costs. We are going to look at our revenue, and then, of course, we're going to look at our profit. Again, I almost work backwards here. If I do this right, my profit is always my revenue minus my cost. We'll play around with these two things, but really let's think about how does this business spend money? So the only way this business spends money is I have to order the books. I have to order the books. And be careful, there's two numbers here, demand and order. The number that costs me money is the order. So whatever I order, that's what it costs. Now here I have 33,500. That means that I've ordered at least 3,000, so these should cost me $21.75. But you have to be careful here, like I have to use the table somehow. You really want to automate this. You don't want to have to put the number in by hand, but understand that I would like Excel to come back with 2175. This is another powerful tool in Excel. This is a very strong formula. This is a fantastic formula to add to your catalog if you don't have it already. It's called VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, or vertical lookup, looks up values in a table for you. So we can pass this 3,500 to the table, and it will return the unit cost. So it tells you what it's looking for and in the order that it's looking for. So here's how it works. It says, tell me what I'm looking up. Where am I looking it up? What column of the table should I return? You want the first column or second column? Here we want the cost, so I want the second column. And then it's going to say true or false. Do you want it to be an exact match? Like, am I looking for exactly 3,500? Or false, do I want just the range? So let's try this one more time. Ready? So lookup value. What am I looking up? We're looking up the order, comma. Where am I looking it up? In my little table over here with the cost and price, comma. What column am I returning? Do you want the numbers from the first column or the second column? I want the second column. And then true or false, do I want an approximate match or an exact match? Here, because 3,500 is not on the table, I want an approximate match. So I want true. You could type true or just click the button, close the parentheses, and hit enter. And look at that. It pulls back for us, as expected, 2175. This function is amazing. And if you have tables, it does a really nice job of looking up values on tables. And it works if you change this number. Let's say I did 3,000. Let's say I did 4,500. You can tell it's working because it's pulling up 2130 now. Let's format this a little better. And so we have our VLOOKUP function. This is the only cost associated to us. I just have to order these books and multiply this by the number of books ordered. Be careful, this is just the price. I have to take this number and multiply it by the number of books that are ordered. There's my total cost. But built into this is a nice VLOOKUP function. So watch out for that piece at the end here. This is the price times the number of books ordered. Great. Now, how do I make money? Be careful here. I have to be careful. I have to sell what I have. So I don't want to just take the order. I can't say, well, it's the order times the regular price or something like that. Because here I've ordered 4,500 books, but I've only sold, the demand is only 4,000. On the other side, if I were to switch these numbers and play around with this, again, we saw this in another video, but you have to think about this for a little bit. If I order 3,500 and the demand is 4,000, I'm only going to be able to sell what I have in stock. I can't sell these missing 500 books. I have no surplus here. So the revenue is going to come from, remember this, the min of the demand and the order. That's going to be what I am able to sell, the smaller of the two. And then what am I selling those two for? That's the regular price. This is my fix. And you may want to play around with this before you do anything else and just make sure it's working in all scenarios. Here, if my demand is bigger, I have no surplus, being able to sell 3,500, that's going to be at a price of $21.75. And the revenue here is going to be the minimum of these two, which is working, the order times the regular price. Now, if in the case the numbers are swapped, and let's say I ordered more than what's actually demanded, so let's put 3,000 and 4,000 in. I have 1,000 left over. I'm using the smaller number. And then we said we're going to add on to the surplus. We're going to be able to sell these at the sale price. So there's two pieces in here. And again, maybe I want to break this off. And the formula is getting a little complicated, but there's two pieces here. I have my revenue from my regular sales and then revenue from the sale price. If you hit enter, you get both. Profit, of course, is your revenue minus your cost. Format that also. And in this way, we're making a profit of $14,800. At this point, I think my spreadsheet looks great. It's working. And now just being a little bit cosmetic and cleaning it up, maybe we'll merge and center the header cell, show all the formulas, and we'll bold the profit. All right, so stare at this. I think this is done. Make sure it's working and run through some different scenarios. Now let's actually go back and answer the question. How many copies of the hardback novel should be in an order from the publisher? So the question is, what is the right order amount that maximizes the profit? To do that, there's two variables in play, the demand and the order. What I'd like to do now is make a table to show all possibilities. And we know that the demand is from 500 to 4,500. So let's put some of these numbers down. 500, 1,000, and then we'll highlight the 2 and drag it down to 4,500. And because I know what the demand is going to be, this is probably what I'm going to order as well. So we can paste this number transposed. I don't know if you saw how I did that. You can highlight, come over here, right click or do special transpose. This will take a row to a column and a column to a row. So just a little bit of a shortcut to make a table. I'll put some borders on this table and I will give these tables a header so you know what I'm working with. Let's merge and center this. I can have my demand. Again, I'm told it's between 500 and 4,500. And then on the side, merge this as well. This would be my order amount. And we can play around with the spacing here and we can turn the text vertically. You can have some fun typing sideways. Ideally, I'd want to fill in the entire table. Now, one way to do it, of course, is to do it by hand. And you can say, okay, if the demand is 500 and the order is 500, then my profit is 3,000, and I would put 3,000 right there. You can imagine, though, to fill in this entire table is going to be pretty rough. I don't want to do it by hand. There's a nice way to let Excel do it. First, let's format the table so when we do it, it looks all pretty. And to do this is called the two-way table. We've already seen a one-way table where I fill in a column. Now let's see a two-way table where I fill in the entire table. Like the one-way table, I need to tell Excel what to fill in the middle of my table. And so this is going to be what I call the ghost cell, and this is going to be the profit. I want this cell to populate the entire table. And this cell is not really for us, it's for Excel. Excel needs it to work, and so I often gray it out to recognize that I don't need this, but it's part of the requirement to use the two-way table. All right, so this is going to tell Excel where in our model the cells are going to come from. All right, so let's do a two-way table. Highlight the entire table, head over to the Data tab, and then What If Analysis, and then Data Table. Now, I realize that the data table's little dialog box didn't show in the last recording, so I'm just going to paste a little image of it over here on the side. But this is what you should be looking at. Asking you for two things. It's asking for your row input cell. Now, this is an image. This isn't actually the box, so just bear with me here. It's asking you for the row input cell. What this means is of your table, of the header, that's a row. So rows going across, which is really for us the demand. Now, obviously, it doesn't know it's the demand, but of the table, of the top of your table, where is that cell? Where am I plugging in the 500? Where am I plugging in the 1,000? Where am I plugging in the 1,500? And on your box here, what you want to click is, at least for me, B9. Now again, this is an image because I know it's not showing when I record for some reason, but you want to click B9 into here. And then the column input cell says, okay, now your table has a column with inputs. Where is that in your spreadsheet model? Right? Excel can't read, it can't match these things. So it's asking you of your columns, which for us is the order, where is that in your spreadsheet model? If you color code the numbers that you're playing with, then it's easy to find these things. So it's the green one. So in this particular box, in the column input cell, you're going to type B10 or click B10. So one more time, on your data table, put in here B9, probably with the dollar signs, and B10. Again, click these. Do not type it. Don't draw it like I do. I'm just trying to show you for the box. So I'll do it now. You won't be able to see this, unfortunately, because the little dialog box doesn't show. Data, what if analysis, data table, row input is my demand, so I'll click that. Again, you can't see this. Column input is the order. I hit OK, and it fills up the entire table. Notice the value that I was expecting at 3,000 is right there. If you get these little hashtags, of course, it just means the column is too small. So just expand the column so that you can see the numbers. Don't panic there. You have all the answers you want. So you can control, as a manager of the situation, you can control what you order. So if you think the demand is 2,000, then you can find the profit that maximizes. And here for us, if we think the demand is 2,000, then clearly the best is 2,000, and we can find all these pieces. Sometimes if you want to color code just to make things pretty, this is again just cosmetic, we can do some conditional formatting. We can throw some color scales on here, and you can see where the most money is to be had. Of course, as demand goes up, then my profit will go up as well. And you can see at each individual column what the demand would be. Now we can control, unfortunately, not the demand of the clients, only the order. So really as a manager, we'd be looking across saying, okay, if I order 2,500 books, what demand am I shooting for here? I would like to try to sell all my books and have the demand equal to my order. But if it doesn't, I can at least budget accordingly and see where I lose money, where I make money, where I break even. So in this particular example, I'm not going to answer with a fixed number. Instead, I'm going to hand back a table and say what, budget-wise, are we comfortable with ordering? And I think this table is good enough for our purposes to answer this question, to have an Excel model, to work with two-way tables, to use our if functions, to use VLOOKUP. Those are the three new things in this example. So you understand how they work: if, VLOOKUP, and then two-way data table, and then conditional formatting for aesthetic so that it looks beautiful. All right, great job on this example. We'll see you next time.